talk a little bit about you. I was watching some other interviews you've done recently, and I learned you'd consider the priesthood.
I did.
Younger on. How did you change your mind on that?
Well, her name was no. Well, you know, the thing really is that I had every intention of becoming a priest. I really was fascinated by it. There are days that I regret not having followed through, but you know, I've since become married, and I've had a long and what I think is a successful career as an actor and a teacher and all of these things. I wanted to see what was out there. You know, I grew up without a father. My father died when I was not quite 2. And the priests were always sort of my surrogate fathers, as it were. And I always wanted to be that to somebody. I don't have children of my own, but I think through acting, through the years that I was a school teacher in Chicago as a public school teacher, I've been able to gain a lot of that father paternal energy by being a mentor to young people. That's extremely important to me. I devote a lot of time to going to college campuses or high schools, dealing with youth, because that really is the most important thing. And I have tried and strived in my career to provide an example for at-risk youth, because I think, you know, too often we see images of let's face it, black men in particular, and black girls a lot of, that are not good, and I've tried to provide an alternative to that. I'm not trying to stop somebody from making their artistic statement, but I think that there should be viable alternatives to the images that we get to see in the main. I believe that the images that go out of a people, that they consume, that they see, and then that other people get to see, that's how we learn about who we are, that's how we learn about others, in large measure. And I think given what these images have been recently, slaves and butlers and all these things, not that there isn't any dignity in some of those things. I don't think there's any dignity in slavery, but I think that to provide an alternative to that is imperative. I think it is responsible. I think to continue to go down the same road when we see the measurable impact is horrible. I'm from Chicago, and as you know, the crime, they've fudged the numbers there to hide how horrible it is. And that's a lack of resources. It is the inculcation of images that are seen, people acting out in ways that they think that they're supposed to act. And somebody has to do something to stem that tide. I'm not the only one, but I certainly want to be one of the ones.
Well, let's talk about some of the things you're working on then besides your acting career, obviously writing, producing. This production you're working on, Revival, that I've read a little bit about. Tell me a little bit about that.
Revival is a play that it's based on a play that I did last year for my church. It was a passion play. People at my church said, you know, we haven't done anything original for a little while. Are you going to direct something this year? And I said, yeah, I guess I will. You know, there was a clamoring for it. And so I sat down and I wrote this play based on the Gospel of John. And I put music that I was very familiar with, gospel canon, and I applied the songs to the places in the narrative of the ministry of Jesus Christ where it fit. And it went over gangbusters. Now this happens in churches everywhere in America, all around the world probably, every year. But I had never seen it done with gospel music. Never really done well. And so we decided to expand that idea and to do a passion play, which starts out as a play, but then becomes real. So it's almost like a multimedia hybrid experience. It's both a Hollywood musical in that regard and also a Broadway musical. So you start in a theater, but then there's you can go into a virtual world where you're in the environment. And that's what Revival is.
So your 8-year-old Lucifer is the theater part, not the role Lucifer?
He's, oh, how did where'd you see that?
I told you I've been studying.
That's very good. Well, the 8-year, I think he's 12 or 13.
12.
Yeah.
Look at the picture.
He does look like a, so, you know, the temptation, the trial in the wilderness is an important part of the ministry of Jesus. I think it appears in 3 of the Gospels. Jesus goes into the wilderness to fast and pray for 40 days. While he's there, he's tempted by Satan in 3 different times. Mm-hmm. I decided, since there's 3 different diegetical experiences, 3 different stories, to make it 3 different entities. So in one, it's a grown man, in one, it's a boy, and in the third, it's a beautiful woman, a seductress, who I call the temptress. Now the little boy, the one that says, "Look, if God loves you so much, jump, and let's see if He saves you." And Jesus says, "Don't tempt God." That's it. That's the gospel. That's what happens in the gospel. That to me seems like something that an adolescent might think. Well, if you really love me, Mom, then you'll give me that bike. If you don't give me the bike, I'm going to run away from home. If I don't, so it was that kind of temptation. So I just it was a kind of artistic expression, as it were, impressionistic idea that I was playing with.
There is a rumor. I want to get back to Blacklist real quick before we wrap this up. There is a rumor, and we'll know Sunday, Monday for sure, that NBC might move the Blacklist to Thursday nights to try to win back Thursday nights. Are you guys ready to anchor the network?
That's a network question. I have no idea. I had thought about that. Were they going to move the show? Because right after The Voice is the juggernaut of the network. But I don't know if they're going to do that. I think that we don't have much choice. So whether or not we're ready, I think that we're willing to continue to tell good stories. And if that's on Monday night or Tuesday or Thursday, the Blacklist is going to keep going and being what the Blacklist is. If they have enough confidence in it, then they'll put it on any night. And I think it'll continue to attract fans. We're living in a very different world, as you know, where people can tape the show or DVR the show or buy the box set people are consuming television in different ways. So I think that with luck and with the continued support of the fans, we'll continue to attract viewers, and that's really what it's about.
I cannot remember a show ever being so hyped by NBC before that actually met up to the success that was hyped. Congratulations on a great first season.
Thank you. I hope I think we're living up to hype. I see shows that get hyped more than we get hyped.
Oh, without a doubt.
But somehow we've managed to hold our own. And
well, you guys grabbed your legs right off the bat.
Yeah.
And you did something, I didn't like it at first, but NBC did the half-season finale where you guys were off for 6 weeks for the winter break. And when I first heard about this, I thought this was the worst idea. I'm like, okay, here we go. NBC is going to tank another show because they're going to split it up. The mid-season finale was so good, and then they smartly played the 2 episodes preceding it again in January, leading up to kind of drive again. I thought that was brilliantly done.
Yes, and there was no real alternative. That the Olympics were coming anyway, and it was on Monday nights and many other nights. So that was one time when the hiatus worked in our advantage. But we had the great advantage too of having Joe Carnahan, who did the pilot, come back and direct one of that 2 segments. He wrote, that 2-parter, and I think he's got such a keen eye for action and character that we were really lucky to be able to get him back.